Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Cabinet today. This will be the final Cabinet for the year. So I've got a couple of announcements to make today. So the first one is congratulations to Carlton School in Batley. It was in the top 3 in the country for reading and maths. So I'd like to send our congratulations that Kirklees is on the map, and it's welcoming news. The second announcement that I'd like to make is that Councillor Yusra Hussain will be stepping aside from her role on Cabinet, and we're going to fill that position with Councillor Afak Butt. So he will take on the position of Culture and Greener for Kirklees. So that's welcome news. And can I take this opportunity to thank Councillor Hussain for her dedication and help and support that she's put around that and working with residents. So I wish her well in her endeavours, and we'll move on. The other item I need to bring to your attention is there is 2 items to be taken in private today. They are items number 14 and 15. I do hope Cabinet members can confirm that they've read the papers. I see that indication you have. So then now that you've read them, we'll go straight ahead into item 7 and item 9 without pausing. So there'll be no private session then because you've said that. So membership of the committee, as printed, Councillor Pervase is on her way. Then we'll move on to declarations. Are there any declarations, members? No declarations. If they are, can you fill them in before the end of the meeting? Admission of the public. As I said, the public are here. Deputations, and I believe I've got Sarah Blackborough. Oh, is it a petition that you've got? Yes, okay, Sarah. Do you want to? Hello, Sarah. Can you just say what the petition is and what it's for?
Yeah. Hi. The petition is to prevent the closure of Castle Grange, the dementia-specific care home that my mum is a resident of. We've got over 3,000 signatures, so we would like it to be considered at the next full council meeting and debated in that forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we now go on to item 5. We have 6 questions today from members of the public. I believe the officers may have spoken to you. There is obviously the 6 questions that are divided up amongst you. If you'd like to ask your questions and supplementaries, and then Councillor Ramsey will answer it all in one go. I am aware that one of the, is it Sarah? Sarah, you have actually submitted 2 questions with no supplementary, so if you want to wait until after and then come back to Jackie, you're more than welcome to. Okay, so the first person is Sarah.
Am I on? Lovely. Just give me 1 second, please. Just getting it up. Question 1. In view of the obvious flaws in the consultation, is the Cabinet going to abandon the flawed consultation, take into account all of the objections and recommence a fresh consultation with more than just one option for closure? Do you want the second one? Yep. With the inaccuracies that have been presented in relation to finances, is the Cabinet sure that any small potential saving is worth the risk to life a forced relocation would equate to for the most vulnerable people?
Thank you for that, Sarah.
Thank you.
Can I introduce Sarah Newton?
During the consultation process for CAL, there was widespread social media coverage to access the consultation through Kirklees Council Facebook page. There has been no such visibility for the care home consultation. Can you explain why? Follow-up to that would be dementia is on the increase with approximately 900,000 people in the United Kingdom alone. In my family, both my dad and brother have dementia. Therefore, given how dementia is on the rise, the consultation is relevant to more than just residents' families, and the ability to access good quality specialist dementia care is of concern to the wider public. Therefore, the fact the consultation has been hidden away on the Council's website, away from other consultations, being intentional to restrict the access to the number of people that will access it. The current strategy to keep people at home discriminates against those with dementia who are unable to stay at home living due to safeguarding for themselves and their carers. This results in increased domestic violence and both verbal and physical abuse to carers and their families. In my case, my 12-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter, and increased mental health issues for carers. How is the Council going to address the discrimination in the current strategy? If the Council continues to pursue the strategy to keep dementia residents at home when safeguarding is an issue, are you prepared to hold yourself accountable on the increased impacts of that decision on our loved ones suffering from dementia and their carers, partners and children?
So we have Helen Pleskett. You have to keep that down.
On the Kirklees website, information for families, care home bed capacity and admissions, it states that should Cabinet decide to move to closure of Claremont House and Castle Grange, we will work with families, social workers, etc. The teams across each care home and with independent sector providers through the Kirklees Care Association to identify the service which best matches and meets needs of residents. End quote. The Council has stated in response to questions about public providers that one consideration of theirs is the opportunity to utilise the independent care sector. Of an original list of 57, now admittedly amended and reduced to possibly 6, the Council have shared their list of independent providers they feel can achieve this. However, following direct discussions from some of our families with these 6 identified providers, we have been informed that only one of these providers care for advanced dementia, including additional care needs and behavioural issues. One home stated helping residents with feeding and dealing with those who are doubly incontinent is too time-consuming. One home said doors are locked so residents can't mix with other residents as they don't always get on. The level of skilled support that mitigates the need to reduce these social opportunities and provide for these care needs is the bread and butter at Claremont. My husband is doubly incontinent, has feeding needs, and because of previous rugby injuries, needs a daily exercise regime. Can you please look again at the list of alternatives we were supposed to consider, and as part of the consultation report and consideration of alternative providers, based on the current levels of skill and care provided by Claremont and Castle Grange, not just the aesthetics of a building. Follow-up question to that. My husband, who is mobile, has the right to move freely from room to room, corridor to corridor, lounge to lounge. A Dole's assessment is in place to keep him safe. This needs to be about his safety and not be used to justify locking him up. He is very passive and walks away from any perceived aggression or threat. He is currently helped in this by specialist staff when there is any threat that he doesn't understand. How will you reassure me that a deprivation of liberty safeguard is in place to enable him to keep these rights of movement in a safe environment enabled by specialist staff with relevant and up-to-date training and monitoring? Okay. Question 2. The Council have admitted that the initial impact assessment did not include longer-term health considerations and that they had not reached out to experts or carried out the appropriate research until a request from families at the first consultation meetings. This has possibly been rectified by more recent contacts with Huddersfield and Stirling University. So far, the signposting on the consultation links takes us to more generic data from government around morbidity, future predictions around dementia care numbers and other national statistical data, but does not provide any additional information about moves for residents from their home with the loss of known carers, friends, familiar settings and routines, other than to state high negative impact to our residents. Can you provide the research in its entirety that relates to these individual care homes in conjunction with the greater context of the choices we are being offered and ensure this data will be shared and used as part of the final decision-making process? And a follow-up to that. A number of my friends in Claremont attend hospital for routine medical procedures We all know how hard this is. Many relatives, like myself, dread the phone call that informs us our loved ones need a procedure that can't be carried out at Claremont. It is widely acknowledged that when care needs are not met, there is a higher likelihood of accidental occurrences, which will result in higher hospital admissions for these individuals, especially with higher needs. Hospital wards cannot meet the needs of dementia. They are not equipped or designed for this. With the updated information of 57 changing to 6, can the short-term and longer-term health impacts also include consideration of the wider health services and how they will be impacted when these private providers and families returning their loved ones to their homes are unable to meet need? Thank you.
Thank you all for them questions, and I'll bring in Councillor Randall to respond.
Thank you. Apologies, I'm not going to look at you because I've got some to read. Okay. Before I just start on that, I just wanted to make the point that many of our neighbouring councillors no longer deliver long-term care directly, including councils such as Bradford, Barnsley, Doncaster and Calderdale, and a number of councils where direct provision remains are still considering their long-term position and their role in care. So we're not unusual. Sarah, for your first question, this isn't a flawed consultation. The Council entered into a voluntary consultation process and there is no legal requirement to consult on alternative options in this context. The Council is consulting on proposals to close the 2 care homes and has set out in the detailed information shared with families as well as online and on the consultation webpage the combination of factors which mean it is not viable for the Council to continue operating Castle Grange and Claremont House as council-run residential facilities. In the spirit of transparency and openness, the Council has responded promptly to requests for additional information from consultees. The Council has provided sufficient information and sufficient reasons to justify the Council's proposals upon which the Council is consulting. The Council will give serious consideration to consultation responses before any final decision on the future of these care homes is taken. Consultation responses will also form part of the Cabinet report. To your supplementary, oh, you didn't ask one, did you? Sorry. I'll come on to your next question, sorry. The Cabinet report, dated the 26th of September, section 2.9 to 2.11, highlighted the cost variations based on a range of occupancy scenarios. This information has been explained in detail in the consultation meetings with families. No inaccuracies were presented in these discussions. Family members were talked through the financial models at the Finance Focus consultation meeting. There was feedback from families that they found the meeting helpful and minutes are available on request. The Council does not view a saving of over £1 million every year to be a small potential saving at a time when there are well-documented pressures on adult social care services across the country which risk other people not being able to receive the services that they need. That's Sarah. Sarah, I'll come on to your questions. The changes proposed for CAL directly affected thousands of people who use the leisure facilities, whereas the changes for the care homes directly affect 46 residents, their families and friends, and the staff. The Council therefore has taken a more direct, face-to-face consultation approach with families and staff to ensure that those directly affected could engage fully. That said, the consultation has been promoted on social media and has been shared on Facebook on the 21st of November, reaching 1,885 people. We're also aware that some family members have been commenting on Council Facebook posts that are not related to the care home consultation. The comments are asking people to sign the petition to stop the care homes closing. The Council Press Office has responded to many press queries from local and regional media outlets covering press and TV, including BBC Look North and ITV Calendar, and has facilitated interviews where appropriate. Council officers have also facilitated space for media interviews at the care homes for family members. This consultation has constantly remained in the headlines, hence we're confident that people are aware of the consultation. To your supplementary, the Council is fully aware of the increase in the number of people who have and who are likely to get dementia. This is a factor in why we are consulting on reprofiling of our services, so we can provide the support to people earlier. In the event that the 2 care homes were to cease being operated by the Council, a wide range of other residential care provision will remain available to people living with dementia in Kirklees. The consultation has not been hidden away, as I described earlier. Sarah, to your second question. It's well documented that many people with dementia prefer to continue living in their own homes. Previous studies undertaken by the Alzheimer's Society highlight that almost 85% of people would prefer to stay in their own home if they receive the diagnosis of dementia. People living at home with dementia can be supported to remain independent at home with the help of telecare, assisted technology, home adaptations and home-based care and support interventions. We are focusing on this as part of our strategies to support people with dementia to live life to the full, which is set out in our Kirklees Dementia Guide, and you can find that on the Council website. The Council does recognise the impact of being a carer for somebody living with dementia, hence the investment in a high-quality dementia day service that provides a break or will provide a break for family carers. Residential care will be the right solution for some people living with dementia at a point in their life, but it's after people have spent a long period of time living with dementia in their own homes. The Council understands the very difficult decisions that family members need to make when it has become too difficult to support somebody in their own home, despite that individual wanting to remain there. And to your supplementary, balancing the rights and interests of an individual living with dementia with the rights and interests of others, particularly family members, is difficult and is at the heart of much of the work of adult social care, particularly when an individual lacks capacity. This means that every circumstance is unique, but it would not be right to have a policy that said that everybody living with dementia needed to move into a residential care home even if they didn't want to. Helen, in response to your first question, the individual needs of each resident will be considered as part of a social work reassessment and in accordance with the Care Act 2014, the Equality Act 2010 and the Health and Social Care Act 2008, Regulated Activities Regs 2014. Information relating to alternative providers has been shared with families and is accessible through the private sector care homes section on the consultation page, which is on the website, Council website. To your supplementary, it will be considered on an individual case-by-case basis through the social work reassessment, best interest assessment and mental capacity assessments. Helen. The Council echoes the value of the integrated impact assessment as an iterative and evidence-based process which contributes to assessing and mitigating the impact of Council proposals. The initial version of the integrated impact assessment did not include references to long-term impact of relocating, as the Council was awaiting feedback and further analysis from dementia leads, experts. A placeholder on this respect was included in the published integrated, you know what I mean, IIA, and families were informed of this during the initial consultation meeting. The latest version of the IIA now does include references to both the short-term and the long-term impacts on residents. Should the council choose to close, to progress with a closure programme of care homes. Council officers would be happy to share the evidence base used to help inform the assessments and mitigations of the impact. The integrated impact assessment is, as you know, available on the council website. To your supplementary, Claremont House is a residential care home and not a nursing home or a hospital, and so there will inevitably be instances where a resident needs to move from Claremont House in order to receive medical treatment, either on a planned or an unplanned basis. There's no difference to other residential care homes. There are 57 care homes across Kirklees that predominantly support adults over the age of 65. Of these 57, there are 44 care homes in Kirklees that registered with the Care Commission and identified dementia as a service specialism or a service category. Depending on the needs of a specific individual, a number of these dementia residential homes could potentially meet the needs of individuals or groups of residents. However, this can only be determined after the social work assessment and individual discussions with service user families. As has previously been set out to families, a very specific question was asked of the council, to which the answer was 6 homes. This was not the number of homes that could potentially accommodate existing residents of either Claremont House or Castle Grange. A larger number of homes could potentially do this, depending on individual need. Thank you.
Sarah, you did have a supplementary because you didn't have it on your 2 questions.
Work the system. Recent concerns have been raised regarding increased admissions from private sector care facilities into hospitals and subsequent refusal to readmit into private sector due to not being able to meet the needs of the dementia resident. If these are valid concerns on the pressure to the NHS, can you explain how closing 2 specialist dementia care homes helps ease the pressure on the NHS? Thank you.
I'm not aware that there is any evidence that between the difference between council residential homes and private sector residential homes. I would need to check that with officers to see whether or not that is actually the case.
Would I be able to get a written response once you've done that?
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to you.
Thank you.
Would you like a second supplementary to your second question? Okay.
In your responses, you've highlighted other local authorities that are not offering residential care, but there's also examples of other authorities offering increased dementia services. So why only reference councils that are in line with your position and not those that are doing more? Thank you.
I'm just trying to put it in context. I was trying to put it in context for you that we're not the only council that is having very difficult decisions to make around how we look at reprofiling our services.
Thank you. Just a comment there is that you can be the forward-thinking council in terms of dementia care and dementia services throughout the journey of dementia, and that would be something to be very proud of, to maintain those services rather than get rid of. Thank you.
Am I allowed to comment on something, please?
Yeah.
I feel it isn't on my questions, it's on the responses to Sarah's next to me. I felt like some of the answers demonised us as relatives, and I felt really offended by that. I cared for my husband for nearly 5 years. I nearly had a mental breakdown. I was told by carers that were coming in that they couldn't manage him on their own because he needed 2 people. I did it on my own. He had 3 days at Knowles Park and they were amazing, but they got to the point where they couldn't do that anymore. And I would go to work for 3 days, those 3 days, and then I would come home and I would take over, and that would be every night and every other day of the week, and I ended up with sleep deprivation, and it was unsafe for me and for him. Please don't demonise carers that put their families and loved ones into residential care. The answers to those questions absolutely demonised us. And that was so upsetting for me to hear.
I'm sorry that you felt that way, and I don't think that was Councillor
I think that,
Ramsey's
no, I don't
intention.
believe it was. It felt very much like it was coming from a legal perspective,
Right.
and I'm aware that you're being supported by legal.
And
Thank you.
I do believe Councillor Ramsey will take up a side conversation, but it was never that intention to me.
Thank you. But you need to be very careful. It's very personal.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming today. Thank you. So we're now moving on to oral questions from elected members. Are there any?
No, Chairman.
Thank you. So then we'll move on to item 7. Obviously, there was an item in private. I did ask if you'd read the papers on item 14. You've all agreed. So we're going to Kirklees Cultural Heart, part of Huddersfield Blueprint, Phase 1 Gateway for Councillor Turner.
Chair, thank you. This is the latest report on our Cultural Heart project. As we well know, due to the incompetence of the government's handling of the economy, we decided some time ago that we would phase the Cultural Heart development and proceed through a series of gateways. This report seeks Cabinet approval to move Phase 1 of the Cultural Heart to the next gateway, which is the most significant gateway so far. I'm asking Cabinet to approve the release of 51 million of the allocated capital budget to move the project into the delivery phase, subject to agreement with the portfolio holder and the relevant strategic director and the main contractor agreeing a contract price for the construction phase. As colleagues will have noted, the report also seeks Cabinet approval to start to do some enabling works to ensure that when the contract is agreed and signed, work on the site can begin as soon as possible. The main contractor is expected on site Q2 next year. Now, this is a slight delay on getting on site, but this does not affect the completion date, as some of the changes we have made to the project will now mean that the project won't take quite as long to complete as first thought. The report also seeks permission to approve the funding to allow the Museum and Art Gallery to move to phase 2, Gateway 3. There will be many more gateways to come on the Museum and Gallery as we finish each gateway, just as we have with the gateway model we have utilised on phase 1. We will be able to move on to the next gateway, subject to Cabinet approval. Chair, it does seem like we've been on this for some time now, but as we know, we have come through a pandemic, cost of living crisis, and the meltdown of the economy caused by successively incompetent Prime Ministers. If Cabinet is minded to approve today's report, this will give the green light to the start of the phase of and enabling works to continue to be carried out next year. Chair, I ask Cabinet to approve this report and allow us to move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Turner, and I'll second that. So is there any comments? No? All those in favour? That's moved. So we're moving on to item 8, the interim housing position statement and the booster to supply, and that's Councillor Turner.
Yep, Chair, thank you. After many years of what seemed like an inertia from DLUC, as they say, a week is a long time in politics, but it seems like a day is a long time in planning just recently. Since this report was published, DLUC have issued a significant number of changes to the planning system on the 19th of December. The main implication of 5-year land supply, what we call refers to as a YLS, and the interim housing statement in the report are that now, until the 28th of February 2024, the National Policy Planning Framework, Para 76, states local planning authorities are now not required to demonstrate a 5-year land supply if their adopted plan is less than 5 years old, and the plan identified at least a 5-year supply of sites. Therefore, at this moment in time, we are not required to demonstrate a 5-year land supply until after the 28th of February 2024, which is the 5th birthday of the current local plan. From 28th of February 2024, the revised Para 77 states local planning authorities should identify a minimum of 5-year land supply against the housing requirement in the circumstances when an adopted plan is more than 5 years old. At this point in time, we will not have a 5-year land supply, A buffer of 5% in calculating the 5-year land supply has been removed. This was included in our latest calculation, but that means we were now a 4.16 year supply without the 5% buffer. As I said, these changes came into immediate effect on the 19th of December, as the same day we were all notified of them. In effect, it does not change the content of the report, it just changes the date when we can't demonstrate a 5-year land supply. And in terms of Office's recommendation to Cabinet's decision on the interim housing position statement, this should be that the paper be effective from the 28th of February 2024, when the authority will cease to have a 5-year supply of housing land. The results of the 2022 housing delivery test were published yesterday, and the results for Kirklees show that 67% of the required housing has been provided over the last 3 years. As delivery has fallen below 75% of the requirement, this means we have to apply a presumption in favour of sustainable development and apply a 20% buffer in our 5-year land supply calculations. As such, our housing land supply position would be 3.46 years with a 20% buffer. However, this requirement does not come into effect until such time as the local plan has its 5th birthday, hence 28th of February 2024. The interim housing statement refers to the 5-year land supply number, and that figure will be revised as housing delivery tests are published. We would therefore require a verbal agreement from Cabinet to agree to amendments to the statements before it is published to reflect the housing delivery test. Chair, I ask Cabinet to approve this report and allow delegation for technical changes only to be made as and when required in light of these changes.
Thank you, Councillor Turner, and I'll second that. Is there any comments? No? All those in favour? Okay, we're now moving on to item 9. That's John William Street, Huddersfield. Obviously, this one again, there was an item in private, item number 15. I did ask, and everybody's declared that they've read the papers, so we'll move straight on to this item now. So, John William Street, Huddersfield, the Heritage-led Regeneration Grant Scheme. Councillor Turner.
Yeah, Chair, this report is here today to seek Cabinet's approval to release the last tranche of money to complete the Heritage-led Grant Scheme for John William Street. The HLRS was approved by Cabinet way back in February 2019, but due to COVID and the state of the economy, it has struggled to find applicants prepared to commit to their share of the project. However, we now have had significant interest, and subject to Cabinet's approval today, the programme can start in February and will be completed by September. We have the relevant planning permissions in place and also required list of buildings approvals. It's important that we do all we can to enhance the look of our list of buildings and protect them for future generations. So some of the work proposed will also include some stone repairs to the facade of the building. Chair, I ask Cabinet to approve today's report.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. I again will second this. Is there any comments on this? No, so all those in favour, show of hands. Thank you. So we're going to move on to item 10, implementing the Council's vision for adults social care. So I'll bring in Councillor Ramsey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In proposing that we accept this report, I'd just like to highlight the pressures that social care has been under with cost, demand, complexity, etc. We've now got extra issues around making sure that we are ready for Care Quality Commission and the adult social care reforms. Newton's Europe came in and did a diagnostic test, as you're aware, from a Cabinet point of view, and that's given us the opportunity really to look at how we can transform services through technology, new pathways, training, etc. So I'm very supportive of the plan that we manage this change programme using resource as much as possible from within the Council. I'm comfortable that the risk can be mitigated through the robust government system that is being suggested, and I fully support the officer's recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Ramsey. I'll second that. Are there any comments on this report? All those in favour? Thank you. So we're now going on to item 11, Yorkshire Purchasing Organisation, the management agreement. So I'll pass you to Councillor Turner.
Chair, thank you. This agenda item is simply to approve changes to the management agreement that controls the governance and operation of YPO. As we know, YPO is controlled jointly by Kirklees and 12 other local authorities. Changes referred to in the report have already taken place, and as the relevant director at YPO for Kirklees, I believe these have been a positive move. Whilst this is retrospective, the changes have been made, we do need Cabinet to formally agree these changes. So, Chair, can I ask Cabinet to agree the changes recommended by the YPO management and the delegated authority of the Director of Legal Governance and Commissioning to send an updated management agreement on behalf of the Council?
Thank you, Councillor Turner. I'll second that. So are there any questions? All those in favour, show of hands. That's carried. Thank you. So we're now going on to item 12, the half-yearly monitoring report on Treasury Management Activities 23-24. Councillor Turner.
Chair, and your early Christmas present is this is the last item from me this year. This is the half-yearly monitoring report on Treasury Management Activities 23-24. Council has adopted the Code of SIPA, Code of Practice on Treasury Management. It's a requirement of that code that reports be submitted to members detailing Treasury Management operational activity. This report is a mid-year report for 23-24 and is here for noting. Chair, I ask Cabinet to note this report and approve this report, and I wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Councillor Turner, and that's seconded by me, so to be noted. So are you all happy with that? Thank you. Before we go, I'd just like to make some comments. As we know, that in Kirklees there's been one of hundreds of councils that have been facing immense financial pressures. But despite this, this administration and this Kirklees Council has continued to do its best it can supporting communities and its residents. The cost of living crisis is biting hard, so please spare a thought as you leave here today for others that are less fortunate than ourselves. And I'd like today for us to say a big thank you to officers for their continued work that they've done for us. It's tireless. Despite challenges and bad press, they have worked tirelessly and continue to carry on for us. To thank the charities and third sectors, and especially the volunteers, which are the golden thread that hold it together. This is particularly a very hard time of year when we're expecting these people to go out there and do things for ourselves. But I want to say as administration, in council we did make that commitment, and here in Kirklees we are continuing to invest in our futures, our towns, our transport, our housing, in people and businesses, and most of all we're investing here in Kirklees. So despite the challenges out there, we are actually trying to keep a focused aim of where we need to get to, particularly with these unfair funding and things that are going. So until we get a fairer funding and a better government, can I just say this Labour administration have done a marvellous job through these challenging times. So thank you. Have a good Christmas. See you in the new year.